Okay, so we're back in the Mekubal Rabbi Daniel Frisch's discourse on anger from his commentary on the Zohar, Matok Midvash. So continuing, this should be our fourth video on this. The first videos were actually very informative. Hopefully with this entire series of this discourse, we'll be able to help other men and other people, maybe even women, conquer anger and negate it. We learn that compassion negates the power of the angel that's associated with anger. So, and that's according to Habakkuk, the prophet Habakkuk. What is that? Verse 3, chapter 3, verse 2. Sorry. Okay, so continuing. Here will be explained the phenomenon of a person guarding his anger deep in his heart so that others will not sense it. This is the most severe of all forms of anger. So basically hiding it in your heart. So the angel, and I want to point out, it's interesting because if you're a Kohen and you go to do the Birkat Kohanim during the service, the blessing of the Kohanim, if there's someone present that they don't have a good relationship with, that they hate in their heart or something like that, they're halakhically prohibited from performing that blessing. Okay, so here we go. The angel responsible for arousing the second type of anger, which descends into the world and spreads to all of its corners, is called Sina, hatred. This is the one that arouses people to Sinat Chinam. So it's interesting because they actually say, it says in some places that Mount Sinai is related to this word Sina, meaning hatred, because this is where the root of all the hatred that the nations have against us, Israel, is derived from, is because of the Torah. And that is one of the reasons, and I've had some videos, like I put up one today, the Daf Yomi portion, I think it was Daf 24, where Rabbi Eliezer talks about the whole world actually converting. And the only way that you can actually root out that sinah, that hatred, is when the whole world takes the Torah. And actually, because whenever they become joined with it, then there's no division, which is that sinah, right? That hatred. So, here we go. This is one that arouses people to sinat chinam, baseless hatred. And the way that we combat baseless hatred, according to our sages, and particularly the Chafetz Chaim, is with baseless love, to love somebody for no reason at all. So here we go. It descends and enters the hearts of people. When it enters the hearts of people, it is called the silent destroyer, for it does not reveal its anger immediately. Rather, the anger is safe kept forever until he finds the opportunity to harm his fellow man. This is the silent, angry person. He is connected to that place of nukva, which is the feminine side of the klipa. In other words, he causes a unification of Tiferet and Malchut of Klipa. This is the silent anger that awaits and opens slyly so that people won't feel him, a person who's secretly angry, coming to cause harm. Therefore, it is the most severe form of anger, like a snake that creeps up quietly on its prey and then strikes to kill, which is why it causes a unification of Tiferet and Malchut of Klipa. The angel responsible for arousing the third type of anger is the opposite of the previous type, for it only gets stronger and does not remain silent. Rather, it reveals its anger, and the more it reveals, the more it gets broken. The more that a person angers because of it and does not remain silent, the more it awakens and breaks. This is why it is called broken anger. And there are people who think that having this trait makes them easy to mollify. But in reality, this is just the way that klipa, that it awakens as it is revealed. The angel responsible for arousing the fourth type of anger begins by inciting a strong anger, but eventually breaks. It gradually, on its own, weakens and goes silent until it is completely broken. Therefore, this type of anger is the inverse of the previous one, and thus this type of anger is the most broken of them all. And therefore, they are all on the first level, the first three sephirot of Klipa. And next, it says, this is kind of like a subtitle, here will be explained that every aspect of anger comes from the realm of impurity. Anyone who throws something in their rage, that item is spiritually appropriated to impurity by the forces of the Sitra Achra, who declare, this is the offering of so-and-so, and their voice is heard throughout the heavens. It is interesting because there is, the Rambam talks about this, what is it? Is it Mercury? The idol Mercury, the god Mercury? Its mode of worship is by throwing rocks at it. And it's interesting because he's connecting the idea of throwing something in your anger as being connected to that idol worship, not necessarily what I'm talking about with that. I think it's Mercury, I'm not sure. But that it's connecting it to that anger, that impurity of that anger. Okay, so this is the offering of so-and-so, and their voice is heard throughout the heavens. And it's interesting. That's extremely interesting. All right. Above all of these appropriated beings in the Heichalot, or the palaces of the Sitra Achra, is one particular appointed being called Saf Sirita. He, together with several angels of judgment under his jurisdiction, take the various evil words that a person speaks. They also take all those things that a person physically throws in his anger. That appointed being, Sif Sirita, then takes all those things that a person threw in his anger and brings it up to a place outside the palaces of holiness. He declares, "This is the offering of so-and-so who has brought an offering to our side." So they basically present it as if it's an offering for, like, to the side of the Sitra Achra, the negative forces. Al Nachat comes from the right side, which is the side of faith and holiness, while the vexation and anger comes from the other side of the Sitra Achra, which is the side of impurity. Therefore, anyone who throws something while in anger, the forces of the Sitra Achra take that thing that was thrown in anger and bring up its spiritual energy as an offering to the other side. They explicitly declare it to be an offering of so-and-so, whoever that was that threw it. And the announcer proclaims and announces throughout the heavens, "Woe to so-and-so who strayed after a foreign god and served an alien god." And the announcer, that's in quotes, the announcer calls out and announces a second announcement saying, "Woe to them who have strayed away from me," etc., meaning who strayed from Kadosh Baruch Hu. Praiseworthy is the person who guards himself from the ways of the Sitra Achra and does not stray to the right or to the left, so that he does not plunge into the deep pit of Gehenna, from which he is unable to rise. May the Holy One, blessed be He, protect us from all sin and transgression, so that we never need to pass through those palaces of impurity, those Heichalot of impurity. So in Hosea 7:13 it says, the full verse says, "Woe to them who have strayed away from me, destruction to them, for they have transgressed against me. Shall I then redeem them, seeing they have spoken lies against me?" Okay, he continues this discourse on words spoken in anger. It says, "Here will be explained that a person who strays from the straight path is compared to a drunk who has no awareness and becomes distant from holiness. This causes him to lose the tranquility of his soul and control over harsh words that he speaks in anger, God forbid." Okay, so it says, similar to the drunk who loses his sense of awareness are those wicked ones who left the correct path and go without awareness, like a drunk who walks unsteadily. They have left the straight and holy path and instead walk the crooked path of the Sitra Achra. Why have they left the path of holiness? It is because they cannot rest, because their crooked path, due to the principle of transgressions, cause more transgressions. So this is from Perkei Avot 4:2. It says, a person who is angry, so what does it say? It says, one mitzvah leads to another mitzvah, and one transgression leads to another transgression. This is why we can actually use the mitzvot that come our way in life as a way to guide us and lead us. So, like, whenever it's time to pray, you pray. When you see somebody broke down on the side of the road and they need help, you stop whatever is going on in your life, you help them out. There's different things. When you see somebody in need, do this. Okay, whenever you see this mitzvah presents itself to you, do it. When you reach in your tefillin bag and you end up bringing out your tefillin shel rosh before your tefillin shel yad, you put it on. All those things, it's all meant to be that way because the mitzvot guide you, right? But one transgression leads to another transgression. So if you do one thing, it leads you just down that slope. And then we all know where that leads, okay? So one transgression leads to another transgression. It causes them to walk without any rectification or calm. Moreover, the wicked express all of their anger through the words of filth and disgust, even heresy, thereby making themselves tremendously impure. The Sitra Achra then draws them towards even more impurity. So, continuing, the discourse on being careful to avoiding cursing in anger. So here will be explained the secret of avoiding cursing during anger, for his curse is received by various external forces who act to bring the curse to reality, God forbid. Wow. When a person is angry, he should be very careful not to curse himself. And due to his anger, they, the external forces, call attention to his sins in order to bring his curse to reality in the event that he abandoned himself to death or cursed himself that he should die, or to any other sort of punishment, God forbid. This is because various external forces stand above him and receive such curses. They use these statements against him in their prosecution, insisting that his words be enacted. Okay, discourse on curses pronounced in anger arousing the nukva of klipa. Here we will be explained the severity of a curse pronounced in anger, for myriads of destructive angels who rule over each moment and hour of the day may be aroused to fulfill those curses. Okay. These curses of the day, the myriads of destructive angels rule over each moment and hour of the day and are able to arouse those curses and bring them to reality. And they take the words with which a person cursed himself, whether in anger or when swearing an oath, for example, if a person says that such and such should befall him if what he swears is untrue. With these words, they arouse the Nachash Akalaton, who is called Leviathan. So the Nachash is the snake, right? The serpent. He's called Leviathan of Nukva of Klipa. This gives her strength and power to destroy and devastate the world. Therefore, when Job pronounced the curse because of his suffering, he cursed his day and not himself, so that the curse would not end up ruling over him. However, this didn't help him, as it is written in the beginning that he cursed the day, meaning the days of his life. But afterwards it says that the cursers of the day cursed him, that these spirits could take control of his body. May the merciful one, blessed be he, save us from the side of evil and its tremendous force, as well as from all bad. And I'll stop there for this video. And again, if you're just catching on to this, the beginning video is very good. So Rabbi Daniel Frisch is a Mekubal. He's a legit Jewish Kabbalist. And this is coming from his commentary on the Zohar. So thanks for watching.